Meeting is now in order
All right,
at 7:04.
7:04. Gotcha. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. On your screen, you will see the 4 lists that I received via email. I went through and color coded them a bit. The red is all of the Jug Handle and West Hartford connections. The blue right next to it is the 177 crosswalk by the depot for the Rails to Trails. These yellow ones here are ones that I'm marked even though they don't relate really to each other, but they're in progress currently. These are active projects. These green ones here, all about the east-west border connections. Water fountain, and then a lot of Jug Handle and West Hartford connections along Route 4, and then some other miscellaneous stuff and events. And Ron would still like a Board of Ed rep, which I think would be a nice thing to add to our group. Does anyone else have anything else to add to the lists? Did I miss anything?
I think that covers our big wish list items. Especially going from, the multi-year projects where we just kind of keep that pressure on and keep making progress month to month, because it's so easy to let a year go by,
Yeah.
But especially when, progress counts on other other areas, like on the Jug Handle one, that's probably the biggest project, the most expensive project, the most complicated project.
Yep.
We seem to be at the last few meetings, a lot of what's holding us back is, not having the resources to write up the grant and get money to get the engineering study done to hand it to DOT.
Yeah, I don't know if adding support for engineering, I mean, we can make time to do it. It's just the reason that has come up over the last 1 or 2 meetings is just we're at the end of the year. We have a bunch of plan reviews, and it's just we're in a high amount or high volume of work right now, just because it's the end of the year.
Yeah. Is that gonna ease up in the next month?
Yeah. It's
okay.
For me, I'm gonna ease up at the end of February.
Okay.
That's when a lot of things are due for me, grant applications and reports that are due to the state and other agencies. So, and mid to end February, I'll be able to free up some time.
Is that so? Does that mean we missed the window for this round of grant applications?
No, not necessarily. No, a lot of grant applications, a lot of them close late spring, summer. It all varies with different applications. Some
Okay.
applications might have ended in November. Some might just be coming out this week. Sorry about that. Our upcoming grants are due at the end of February. and then some bike grants that I've had the chance to look at briefly are March, April, May, etc. So I don't think we're missing anything by pushing off any of that work till then.
Hey Dylan, this is Rich. I had a question.
Rich.
I don't know if you commented on this in an email, but
Yep.
something about the mayor of West Hartford interested in meeting and making connections between West Hartford, Farmington, and Yukon. Was that you
Yeah,
that mentioned that?
Yeah, that was an email that Bruce Donald sent to me.
Okay, that's what it was.
Apparently he had spoken with the mayor of West Hartford about some kind of connectivity between Farmington and West Hartford along Route 4. And I guess she's open to that discussion.
Guys, when you're talking about that connection, where are we talking about doing that? I mean, if you look at Route 4, from basically right near the health center all the way down, you've got at least a 3 to 9 foot siding off the side of the road on both sides, all the way down to West Hartford Center till just past the reservoir where it narrows up. You could drive a car down it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I realize that, and I ride it every day. My point is, if West Hartford, I've been asking Mike D'Amico for a couple, 3 years now to get some political push behind the whole idea of the jug handle and connectivity between towns. I mean, Matt, you and I will ride it all day long, but majority of people won't. So I think just, any push from any politician would be helpful in achieving the ultimate goal of, in my mind, of getting safely out of Farmington.
Okay, so Rich, what you're talking about is the connection from our end of the town, but once we get past the health center, I mean, you've got those huge shoulders. I mean, I don't know how you're going to make that any better. And I see people running and riding it all the time. So but you're right. The challenge is the jug handle.
Yeah, I think
Well, I haven't been down there in a while, but I thought West Hartford was doing something. Were they putting a dedicated path in, or are they just widening the shoulder?
I think they're doing something. In fact, I saw a zoning meeting posting right when you're coming up Route 4, right at the reservoir. There's some kind of zoning meeting going on to change the zoning there. So they cleared a bunch of trees. There's pavements all marked up. So I'm guessing
Because I remember from, I know we were talking years ago about there is a path or a plan for a path off-road somewhere between where all the health buildings popped up to get to the entrance to Yukon Health Center. So it was an off-road path. I thought there was some of it which actually already existed, but that would connect to all those medical office buildings as well. Bruce, do you remember that, or?
Sorry, was that? I didn't catch it all.
I thought there were plans, and part of it was already constructed for an off-road path, bike pedestrian path from around where all those medical buildings sprouted up off of Birdseye in that corner there, down towards the entrance to Yukon Health along Route 4. So people wouldn't have to be on Route 4.
All we have right now is there's typically a pedestrian path. If you were to cut through like Homewood Suites, and then the 490, well, you guys don't know the addresses, but if you go down Homewood Suites' driveway, there's that sidewalk from there that takes you all the way down to the intersection with South Road at the signal where the entrance is to Birdseye Road intersection there. That's all we have for paths right there. And again, it's not really even a path, it's just a sidewalk. unless I'm missing something. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm probably going back 6-7 years now, if
Yeah.
not longer. But the idea was to, and also on the other side of the road, there was some way to get us from the jug handle down.
yeah, there's nothing there now. If the intent would be to follow that road, come across on Farmington Avenue, follow along there. We'd have to work with somebody, maybe if we can cut through those new buildings on South Road. If not, it'll have to push all the way down to the South Road intersection
Mm-hmm.
with like a bike lane or something, or like a sidewalk or something.
Yeah.
Like an extra wide sidewalk. The recent approval of those apartments up off of Farmington Avenue on the opposite side of the farmland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. 402. That's what we're calling 402. They're building the sidewalk from that intersection, from the signalized intersection with Farm Glen, and they're building a sidewalk all the way down to connect into the existing sidewalk on Yukon. So Dylan, if you go from that intersection right there,
Yep.
no, Farm Glen,
Yeah.
go north or north on the page up to that white. You see where the
Yeah,
sidewalk
right
is?
here.
Just keep yours is a little nope. Keep going.
Keep going.
Yes, right on the left there. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's existing concrete. It ends right there. So we've got them to extend that from, if you pan south, right there, that ending spot right there, from there
Yep.
all the way up to the intersection with Farm Glen. So that's where, if anybody remembers, that's where they had that bad, the pedestrian got killed getting off the bus right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like 8 years ago or so. So that'll extend all the way up to that intersection, and then they'll have signalized crossing. To get across, it'll service both the Yukon Health Center's building, Genome building right there at 400, and then it'll also service those apartments, which is going to be 200 and some odd units up there. So that'll take care of that, and it also can help out with those buildings on Farm Glen as well.
Yeah. I think what Bruce Donald meant about the meeting with the West Hartford mayor was just kind of filling in this large gap here between the reservoir and I think it's this property, 195 Farmington Ave. That is a spot where we could fill in with sidewalk. I know it's a very wide apron, that you have there, where you feel safe riding a bike or running or jogging, whatever you may be doing. But to someone who's walking, I think they would prefer a sidewalk there. And we have plenty of space to do it, it looks like, too. So I think that was what he was going with the West Hartford mayor.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
side is the sidewalk in
So-
West Hartford? Is it on the, I'm going to say it's probably on, based on this, it's opposite of the reservoir, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, they'd
Yeah,
have
they
they'd
have
have some
some-
distance to go.
No, I'm just
Everyone.
wondering what side you want to try to keep it on that same side. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, for us, the southern side of the road or eastern side, whatever you want to call it, would work out better for us.
So connecting with West Hartford might be a good idea in general, because I saw a couple news reports about some sort of 10-year plan that they're having to improve pedestrian safety. And part of it is education and enforcement and all this other stuff. They're just in the early stages of it, but they've had a lot of accidents, including some fatalities in December. So if they're doing something that we can kind of bring into our town too, it might be a good use of our time to improve safety all over the place. Pick up some ideas.
Well, it might be also the kind of thing where you guys can piggyback onto their planning and
Yeah.
complete it all the way up to the jug handle, maybe include the jug handle as a priority. So that might help us too.
Yeah, and by making the connection and making this side of Route 4 more accessible to foot traffic and biking and running and all of that, and connecting the larger apartment or more complex housing over here that we find, connecting all that with sidewalks and trails, and then having our connectivity grant, get approved that we're applying for this year, that would mean that, you can walk basically anywhere on Route 4 except for on the backside of the Hillstead Museum and the jug handle.
Mhm.
And then that becomes a fill in the gap kind of project. So it might benefit us to do the stuff with West Hartford first and then focus on the jug handle. Focus on getting the smaller pieces together before we go for the larger piece.
Dylan, does it make sense for the larger piece though, if that's the most intensive one, to just get things started on that, knowing that it's going to take years, rather than waiting another year or two until the other parts are done?
That's what they did with the stacks over 84. That didn't work out.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
if we get a
Hmm.
concrete plan with either West Hartford or we secure funding, or the town council, or however this would come together, if something starts to happen where plans become more concrete, I think then is a point where you can start floating around the jug handle, and that being a potential project as well.
I think it's a great direction to go, and I think that with the fact that UConn and all those medical facilities are right in the middle of it, and the state runs UConn, it'll get a lot of should get a lot of attention, especially that meeting, Dylan, that you got invited to.
Yeah,
It's been on their radar before from when I've brought it up. The whole CROG study that was done with the jug handle intersection, it's already on people's radar. If we just keep pushing it.
yeah. No, I'm excited to attend the meeting because I'm
Yeah.
curious what they have to say about the whole idea, really.
Mhm.
We just had another, maybe that's Ron.
Yeah, that's Ron.
Yep. Hello, Ron.
Hey there.
Ron, I have the video disabled, so don't feel left out if you can't turn your camera on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I'll fix that for our next meeting.
Okay.
Yep. We were just going over the jug handle and Route 4 connectivity with West Hartford items on our list.
Okay.
I'll bring up the list so that you can take a quick glance. I did some color coding, so if things match in color, they should match up to a similar idea or the same project.
Got it.
Yep. So my number one for our top 5 list is I'm calling it the Farmington Center to West Hartford connection. I'm not labeling it the jug handle or the sidewalk connecting West Hartford and UConn. I'm just generalizing that upper portion of our town and of Route 4 is a project that I think we all like to have on the list. And I think by generalizing it to a number 1 item instead of a 1 and a 2 and a 3, I think that gives us more play with what we can do, and it doesn't hold us down to a specific project that gets accomplished there.
Do you mind sharing the spreadsheet, Dylan? Again?
Yeah, I can send this all out to everyone.
Well, no, just on the screen share is fine.
Oh, can you not see it?
Nope, right now I'm looking at a map.
Yeah, we're looking at the map.
Oh, okay. Here, screen share. There we go. Sorry about that. I switched screens,
There we
but
go.
I guess it didn't switch screens. Yeah. So like I said, for my number one, I think we can easily put the Farmington center. So, basically where the Berkshire Bank is, all the way up to the Farmington West Hartford town line along Route 4. That I think that connection, whether we get just the part over by West Hartford done, or maybe we secure funding for the jug handle, I think any kind of work or progress over there that gets done is a win. And I think just generalizing that as a whole project itself instead of splitting it up gives us more workability.
Yeah, that sounds like,
good.
All right. And then for my number two, or actually before I go back down the list, we'll stay on Route 4. And Rich and Andres, you guys had connections between the existing sidewalk and trails along Route 4 at the Big Bird Bridge, and then the connection walking trails along Route 4 to Farmington Center. And Andres had the destination signage. So the destination signage is going along with our project at 75 South Main Street, the Pocket Park, we're calling it. We're still waiting on the signs, but once we get all three signs, so that being the Welcome to Unionville sign and the two wayfinding signs, we'll install all three of those at the same time. That should hopefully be sometime this month, maybe early February. So that is being worked on. I know we need more destination signage throughout the town, but this is a pretty good start, I think. Installing the signs in Unionville help people get around who may not know the area. The connectivity between Route 4 and the Rails to Trails at the Big Bird Bridge. I have a plan from the Midpoint development that is going in. They just got approval, or they got partial approval, I believe, from OSTA, right, Bruce?
No, they didn't get partial approval. What they did is they went through and started working with them. The DOT had kicked back some comments, so it's going to be ongoing back and forth. They're working on some items, so they've got to go back and do some more research for the turn lanes and things like that at the intersections. So this is just the initial start.
Okay, yep, thank you. So basically what their plan is where is my little bar to zoom in? There it is. So basically their plan is to lower the trail. They're going to lower the trail. As we all know, it's pretty high up to begin with. They're going to lower it and make some access ramps that go onto their property. So basically all you'd have to do is get from Route 4 and use their sidewalk connections to walk down through their property, which will be mixed use. So I believe they're looking for a restaurant, a bike shop is ideal. They have a shop space that they're hoping to place a bike shop in. No promises, but that would be their goal for along the trail. And yeah, they'll have a little bench area with some bike racks. You'll be able to, if you're able to get to the trail from elsewhere in town, you'll be able to ride your bike down, maybe grab a bite to eat. And it will be a very nice addition to the town, especially in this area.
Do they have a ramp to the Little League fields too?
That's what they're showing on here, but I don't think
Yep.
that's in play anymore. Is it, Bruce?
No, it is. It is. It's still in plan.
It
They're
is?
gonna put it in. They're gonna
Okay.
get the ramp portion of it done, and we'll take care of the little bit that goes into the field. So that's how
All right. Yeah.
kids will be able to access the fields from either the Highlands or we'll say down by the meet area. They can come down on the bike trail, take the ramp down right into the fields.
And
Yeah.
so
it's
that's
also
gonna
how
go
you can-
underneath, that'll go underneath
You-
the bridge kind of along the river again, or?
No,
just
this is,
that area?
so the Big Bird Bridge is over here.
Yep.
And then this is further down, like behind.
Oh, I see. So it's off both sides. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then here's the car wash and so.
Yep.
Uh,
Cool.
So you're gonna
Yeah,
come
so
off the
that's how
Big
you,
Bird
that's how you
Bridge.
can get around the bridge. Yeah.
yeah. Here's a way that
Exactly.
you can safely get around the bridge. Yes, it's a little bit longer, but
That's awesome.
I think you'll get some nice views.
And is
Well,
that something you think they're gonna be doing in 23 or 24, or what's your hunch?
Whenever they start construction, this is one of the first items.
23.
Okay, fantastic.
23 is their plan. So it's the
Yeah.
plan to get started this year.
And when they're doing that,
Trail once-
is the bike path gonna be shut down and closed, or?
Yep. Yeah, that's why they're hoping to do it technically this winter. That was kind of some initial discussions that we
Okay.
had for them, because we know once it gets to like Memorial Day, forget it. It's,
Yeah,
shutting it down is gonna be a little bit difficult. So they're thinking about actually doing it this actual winter. So
okay,
Yeah.
great.
And that trail, once it gets into the midpoint property, doesn't that go along the river?
It does, correct.
West to east?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
It'll-
that's a
it'll follow along
bypass
the
of Route
river.
4.
and then it'll kick back up right over by oh god, the hair salon.
Does it go
What's her name?
to the hair salon, the old restaurant there?
Yes, exactly. The old copper kettle. Thanks, Ryan. You and I are Neil. We're both oldies here. Thinking of the restaurant.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
Neil. Yeah.
Sorry, Neil. Yes, I said Ron.
yeah,
Franklin said Neil. Sorry, Neil.
Yeah, I'm old as well. But so that's a good bypass of a lot of Route 4.
It is. It is.
And it gets you down almost to the temple,
Yeah.
And on top
or at
of
least the
that,
Brickyard, right? Yeah.
and then on top of that, they'll have sidewalk along the edge of on the south side of Farmington Avenue along the entire frontage of the property.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, but this Waterside to Bridgewater, aren't they supposed to be installing a sidewalk too?
yes.
Yeah.
When that's all part of. See the number 3 right there.
Yep.
That's all part of the apartments. That apartment complex, if and when that gets built, has to do sidewalk
Yep.
along the frontage and all the way over to across to Bridgewater as well. So that will make that full connection at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be huge.
So that gets you,
Huge chunk.
yeah. And that
Basically
gets you all
from
the
it.
way past the temple.
Yep.
Yep.
'Cause there's
Exactly.
a sidewalk there now, which is pretty wide for a lot of it.
Mhm.
And then it narrows actually on the temple property, but
This will be an exciting project once it gets going, for sure.
The
So-
salon is
so
called
then
the
we just
gallery,
wait
by the
for
way.
Thank you.
Thank you. It'll always be the copper kettle. But yeah, so then we just have to get people safely from the temple area down to the center of Farmington, which is not going to be
Yes.
easy because that's where a lot of business is. But
Yeah, there's bits and pieces of sidewalk there now. Like I
Yeah.
said, our plan is we're applying for a grant to go ahead and make all those connections. So I believe the average grant period is 2 to 3 years from an approved grant or an approved project to the start of construction. So if we get approved in 23, you can expect by 25 we're going to be out there building it. Maybe sometime in 26 if things get held up. But that would be the goal. And with it being a sidewalk project, there isn't as many hoops to jump through, I'll say, with the DOT and other agencies that get their hands in it. With it just being a sidewalk, it should run a little bit smoother for all the approvals that we need.
Dylan, is that gonna tie into any future bridge? Third bridge?
Yeah, so I was speaking with Mr. Arnold the other day about the bridge and how we want the sidewalks and people to cross the river, and whether they're going to the high school, the library, or town hall, where how we want to make that crossing. We were discussing, I think currently the plan is, because we have sidewalk along here, we're having everyone cross, but then we were discussing possibly having sidewalks on both sides of Route 4 here. So we're that's still kind of up in the air, and him and I are going back and forth with some pros and cons about that. But
So wherever
the sidewalk,
that bridge comes out on the other side of the river, and I don't know where it hooks into New Britain
New
Avenue.
Britain Ave.
But yeah, I don't know where that is, but in relation to the bike trails. But we ought to consider finding a way to get people from that bridge to the bike trail, because then that opens up a whole lot of traffic, easy traffic once you're on that trail.
So these purple lines are the rails to trails.
Yeah.
So the bridge would come across here, something like that.
Where's the town garage? Just so I
The
can.
town garage is right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then police station and senior center are right here in green.
Yep.
So you're kind of in the middle of them. This property is quite large, and I think the plan would be to make the rest of the property some kind of park. Or at least that's what's depicted in the renderings for the bridge. And then from here,
So see, if you can get from across that property somehow to where that blue P is, that's
yeah,
the parking lot for the rails to trails, right?
yes. Yeah, so
And
you
then you've
basically come
connected
this
people
way,
up. Yeah,
go this way, and right here, and you're on the trail. So a little less than 1,000 feet.
yeah.
So,
So just my opinion, it would be a shame to do all this and not connect to that trail.
yeah, it's my understanding that there's going to be some kind of pathway through the park portion of this property. So, you'll have some kind of path probably to this corner somewhere, and then some kind of crossing here to get you across New Britain Ave so that you can make it to the trail.
Okay.
That would be the most logical way to do it, I would think. So that will all come together in the next couple of years as we plan and apply for grants for the bridge project. I know Mr. Arnold, our Public Works Director, is in a meeting sometime this week or next week with Frog about funding for the bridge and grants that could be favorable to the town. So that's all in the works too. And let's get back to our list. All right, so I think a number 2 for me is actually the water fountains. I think if we can get those in where it's reasonable, where we have water mains already located near the property, I think probably along the parking lots, somewhere in there would be the best place to put them. So that right there, kind of where everyone congregates anyways. So I think that would be my number 2. And then my number
So
3.
Dylan,
Yep.
so with the water fountains, I think we left off in September or October trying
Yeah.
to get POs. Has there been any progress on that?
Not too much since then. I do remember talking about it. I do remember that we had a couple of different options, and we were talking about winter prep or winterization.
Yeah,
for
we don't have any POs ready because the funding wasn't fully in place because the system is the system prices had gone way up in the roof. So we were talking to Bob, Bruce, and Bruce had said that he knows like REI and some of those places do give little small grants like that. So that's kind of where we were headed at that point.
So
Yeah,
do we have them spec'd out that as soon as we get money, we can cut a PO, or do we still want to spec out? Do we take a regular one, drain it versus a winter suitable one?
We were looking at the different options, and that's what I would think. One of them, it was like another $3,000, I think, for it ended up being like $6 or $7,000 for a frost free. So we were looking at other options where maybe.
I was looking at them yesterday, Bruce, and they just to get a standard one where you have a water fountain to drink out of and then a bottle fill, you're looking at $5,000 or $6,000. And then the frost free, which is kind of what we need up here in the Northeast, is a couple $1,000s extra.
That blows my mind considering you can get a frost-free spigot for the house for an extra $25.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably, that might be all it is. They're just throwing it on there and saying that they did a lot more work than they really did.
Sure. So I mean, can we get everything ready, so it's like funding ready, and then we can, apply to REI or whoever?
Absolutely.
And then that way we can say, hey, listen, here's what we want to buy. This is what we're ready to do. Because that could be an easy gimme for us.
Yeah, that's why I have it as my number 2.
Okay.
I think it's a project that we can get going and hopefully finish in 23 or 24, even if we find the money and can't start till 24.
One other option, put it out on the town page, say we'd like to do it, the town's looking for funding, does anybody want to sponsor it, and then you put your plaque up. Now, I'm kind of kidding about it, but kind of not.
People pay for the benches. Someone might want a water fountain with their name on it, or someone else's. You're right. And then that would be my number 2 because I think it's a doable project. My number 3 would actually be events. I think if we have more events, we'll get a little bit more public support. We can look at what other towns are doing for bike and pedestrian and trail events. Maybe hold a fundraiser for cancer research or whatever it may be. I just think getting the public more involved and more aware of the public trails that we have here in town will help us gain a little bit more traction when we try and push projects.
So on the event side, I know Winding Trails, they've got their women's try. It's a big deal. They've got the CCAP benefit ride, which gets a ton of people. They've got their off-road try series, 10 weeks on Tuesday nights. And this year they're starting a new 5-week-long mountain bike series as well. Does it make sense to have, I don't know if we want to dedicate a booth to Bike Friendly Farmington or something, because you've got residents nearby, whether it's town residents or neighboring town residents that are, obviously into biking.
Yep.
And it seems like it'd be a great audience to get directly.
It's the perfect audience. I agree. I think if we have some kind of flyer or maybe if someone wants to make a QR code with a website to a link where we have a trail map of all the trails and paths around town, or something along those lines where people can come up and we can give them a little bit of information. Maybe help them find a path near their home if they live here in town. I think that's a great idea.
Ron, just out of curiosity, Ron Goralski, how many guys did you get at your table in your booth the time you guys set up right over off of Unionville, off of the bike path there? How many people actually stopped and talked with you?
Which one? I'm not sure which, we've done it a few times.
Yeah, I was thinking about the one right by the parking lot in across the bridge in Unionville. You guys had a table set up there. I remember seeing it on one of my rides.
So, if it's during an event, like we did it for the, bike trail, lobster ride, then they come past us anyway, but it's hard to put a number on it. I actually didn't count. People are usually in a hurry, and I have found unless you're offering a service like a pop-up clinic or something, then they usually don't stop. We found that out for the bike to work day events that we had, where we rarely got people to stop unless we knew them. And we've done it from time to time, and we don't get a lot of people. Not saying that we won't if we have, like, even during the Adorno rides when we sponsored those and we had our table out there, you know, people weren't really stopping by. But it's been a while. We haven't done anything since, you know, before COVID, really. So I wouldn't mind trying something like that again, to especially to hand out information, you know, safety information, and just to let people know that we're here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just think I think by doing even like sponsoring helping with like sponsoring events or opening a booth at some other local events, I think more public outreach would help us.
Yeah. You know, I hate to be the downer, you know, in theory, yeah, you would think people would flock to the table, but I've done enough of these events where I've not had a lot of people come. I do the booth sometimes for the Trails Council. They have it in Canton at the you know, Sunday at the farmers market, and they get so many people coming over to ask about the trail and things like that, but it's part of another event. So
Yeah.
so that helps a lot instead of just being plopped out there solo.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, you know, maybe if there's a local farmers market in Farmington, you know.
Yeah, which we don't have.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we would have to put some thought into this.
Yeah. For number 4, I had just to keep moving down the list. For number 4, I had signage, and along with signage, there is sorry, I lost the word. Along with signage, you have laws and policies for the town. I think those go hand in hand with each other pretty well. So that was my number 4, was signage around town, whether it be the 3 feet to pass signs or bicycle crossing ahead or whatever it may be, in whatever location it may be. I think that's an easy one where we can look at Ron, the list you sent me shortly before the meeting. We can take a quick look at that tonight. Or we can wait till the next meeting when we have everyone with us.
Okay. So as far as signage, last night or Monday night at the Farmington Valley Trails Council meeting, we put together a subcommittee. I volunteered for to look into signage up and down the trail, and obviously coming through Farmington too. So
Yep.
I'm not sure that'll be a Trails Council type of thing, but it'll most definitely cross over into what we're doing too. So I'll kind of keep everyone up to date on some of the things that we're planning, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Of course, that'll help a lot with people finding their way and knowing where they are on the trail.
Yeah.
Then also on the signage, I was thinking where, you see in other towns, it's got a picture, blue sign, white letter, whatever, with an icon of a bicycle, bike route, or maybe it's green, I don't know. But, going through other towns, you see the signs like bike route that way, bike route this way, whatever. And, as a driver, if you're not familiar with that, that area, it brings your mind, oh, hey, they like bikes here, and then there's actually a route that goes from somewhere to somewhere else. And I was just thinking, it'd be great to have that on, Main Street in old Farmington, pointing towards Meadow Road,
Yep.
signs there going to Tungus Mead and the ball fields, and kind of where we have bike paths and just directing people to the route, or if you're on the route, where it continues. And, hopefully there's a lot more opportunity for that down the road.
So when you're talking about that, are you talking about signs to the trail? Are you actually talking about signs that just say bike route, this is a great place to ride, and Meadow Road, for example, to Red Oak Hill and coming up that way?
Yeah, I'm thinking more bike route,
Yeah.
so you're on there and, hey, I'm on a bike route, and, here's the red bike route, here's the blue loop, here's the green loop, something like that.
So making it a route.
So kind of
Yeah,
like
West
what
Hartford
West
has
Hartford.
actually 3 loops. Yeah, they have 3 loops, I think, red,
Yeah.
blue, and maybe green. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, you can, spend a couple $1,000s on signs, and then it's there permanently as a feature.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of a low budget feature to the town.
Yeah. Although, I don't know, I'm not a fan of too many signs because it gets very cluttered and
Yeah,
busy.
I agree
but-
with you, Andres, on that. Too many signs, it's too much information, and
Yeah.
it's distracting people too much.
Yeah, the routes in West Hartford actually connect to something, right? Like West
Yeah.
Hartford Center. So, yeah, if we can find places in town that we want to get people from and to, we could set up some routes that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it works really well, like you were just saying, Neil, for connectability purposes, as well as, this is a nice loop to ride, but this is also a great way to get from A to B to C, and then to the bike trail. Or past, a school, from West District to the bike trail to, one of the neighborhoods.
Yep. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add?
So on the topic of signage, I just, I've been thinking a lot about I know we we put up a lot of share the road signs, and then we don't like those, so we're going to, do something different, 3 feet, all that. I'm wondering if we should consider, though, rather than replacing signs, maybe just adding and augmenting, because share the road still means something to somebody, and if it puts a thought in their head, that there's a biker out there and I've got to do something, whatever that is, whether it's give them 3 feet or share the road, I really don't care. Now I'm aware that I should look out for bicyclists and other pedestrians too.
I agree with that.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I hate to just
Yeah.
tear them all down and replace them with something. And maybe move them so people see them, and so maybe we take a share the road sign down, stick a 3 feet sign there. Now somebody notices that something's different, but we use that share the road sign someplace else, and now they see that too and say, oh, okay, I got to think about this.
Yeah, perhaps adding to our existing infrastructure of signs is better than, going through the effort and ripping down the old and putting up the new. Because it's still raising awareness.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep, that's a good thought. For my fifth item, I actually want to go with Ron's number one is education. I thought that was a really good item to add, Ron. Whether it's safety education with the schools, safety information online. We can put things on our town newsletter, small articles pointing out maybe safety items that people may easily forget, and stuff like that. I think that's a great thing that we can, improve on every year too, and we can set up things that happen yearly with education. So I think that's a good point to focus on as well.
Great.
And that's where we can, I was talking before, and I don't know if Ron was in at this point or not, but tapping into West Hartford and seeing what they're doing as part of their 10-year plan. I know part of that's going to be education on safety. So if we can get some consistent messages out there, that would be great.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't have to do it all ourselves. We can help them and they can help us.
Yeah, no need to reinvent the wheel here. I think throughout the other communities surrounding us and our own creativity, I think we can use and adapt what they have already put out, and we can at least see what works and what doesn't.
Yes. I think sometimes though, a local voice helps a lot, maybe in the way of a blog, maybe a monthly blog where you're just addressing issues particular to Farmington, like 177 crosswalk or whatever. But I think a little mix of each would, I think that would, be a great.
Yeah, as long as we're informing the public about safety and educating them on the trails, and even if it's just posting a map online, on the Farmington patch saying, hey, did you know we have this many trails in town? And with like a link to the map or whatever it may be.
Right.
I think as long as it's educating and telling someone something that they didn't know before, it's good.
I think your guys' view on that's actually a little bit narrow. What we really want to do is get the people that are riding on the paths now to think of the road connections that they have in this town and to use them for errands, fitness, riding to work. And part of that education has to be to teach them little fine points about riding on the roads, how the law applies to them as cyclists, and the ways they can ride safely.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a big. Yep, that's definitely one of my ideas. Like a big part of it. I think focusing on motorists though is really important, because really they're the only ones who are driving at deadly weapon. So, I think we want to make it clear to them and to cyclists and pedestrians on what each of their responsibilities are out there and how they all help to protect the other person. So yeah, I think this is, multifaceted. There's so many angles we can come at it from. And, I wouldn't mind taking the lead on this and reaching out to everyone for their suggestions, maybe even for everyone to have a chance if they want to write, a blog, in a blog, or just, use everyone's ideas.
I think also, Ron, what you might want to consider doing is using a short video clip, and the effective cycling that you have out there that works for that will work really well. And you've got a guy who's with us tonight who has done the effective cycling for the police officers. And Jeff Claude would be a great resource on this.
Absolutely. And those of us that are league certified instructors, we've got access to a library of those little short videos, and training tools and things like that too. So there really is a lot out there. There really is no reason to reinvent the wheel, but like I said, on the other hand, to add a local flavor to it as well, I think we can find the right balance there.
I think the important thing to do, Ron, is take some of the examples we see online and then take those and actually do our own on our own streets to show people, what they need to be looking for and how they need to ride safely. It's really not that difficult.
Yeah.
And that way you put a local face to it also.
Oh, absolutely. I've done I have a ton of video where I'm just riding my bike through town. Seems like I'm talking to myself, but I feel like I'm giving, good information. So yeah, I think those are great. And then, you can even mention, landmarks as you're riding past them. Hey, stop into here. If you're, in this part of town, it's a good way to kind of weave everything together. So yeah, I think we're underutilizing that. And part of it's my fault. I have wanted to do this for a long time, consistently. So now that it's actually made a list, then we can start. I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything either.
Oh, hello? Can you hear me?
Okay.
now? Oh, sorry about that. I was just saying, if anyone else had anything to add to our top 5 discussion. I know we didn't touch upon every single thing in this list. For instance, the grants. I didn't think it was necessary to add that to the list just because it's intertwined with other items that we already have. The east to west route connection between the town borders, along Meadow Road, for instance. I think I don't see the town putting an upgrade to that path as a priority necessarily. Excuse me.
I don't disagree with you there, but the other part about it too is when we redo Meadow Road or when we redo Red Oak Hill, let's widen those in the future. We don't have to do anything right
Yeah,
now.
Yeah,
but
I think it's a great back burner kind of item, not necessarily one that needs to be in the top 5. Not that it's not feasible or doable or anything like that. I think it's more of a, as projects down the road come up in that kind of area, we can improve them then. That's all I was going with that. And then the building path connectivity and complete streets into designs of new developments. That is a thing that we require developments to do now, especially with our complete streets being incorporated into the code of the town. So I think that's just kind of gonna keep turning and producing great usable pedestrian, bike, and trail amenities around town, and give people around those projects even more access than they had before. So I didn't think that needed to be in our top 5 either, just because it would kind of slowly happen within the background of the town as properties get redeveloped and businesses move in and build sidewalks and do a bunch of stuff like that. I think that will kind of improve our cause in the background without much input from us, just due to the nature of what the town requires new developments to do. So that was my take on our top 5. Let me know if I missed anything. I think we covered pretty much everything.
So yeah, I do think the 177 crosswalk needs to be addressed.
Yep.
It's an accident waiting to happen, and it's not going to be long before those blinking yellow lights are replaced by sirens and flashing red lights, because somebody's going to get hit there. It just, at a minimum, we need to move that button on the west-hand side, because if you're on a cycle or if you're walking from, the Railroad Avenue side towards the depot, you've got to actually go down the hill to hit the button. You're not going to do it. That's probably the biggest pain point. I think Ron might agree with me in terms of driving angst between drivers, motorists, and pedestrians of all takes. You've got disabled people riding wheelchairs down there from up the hill, trying to get down to Unionville and everything. I still say that has to be motion sensitive. Other towns are putting them in, and if it saves a life, we got to find the money.
Neil,
we got to try to raise the cross, or elevate the crosswalk. And I'm even thinking, should we elevate on the bike trail to slow people down as they approach that?
Yeah, I love.
I'm sorry.
Raised crosswalk.
Yeah, what I was thinking, guys, is what you need to do there also is, if you notice that that sign on the right-hand side in this picture, if you push that button, you are behind things. You come out from behind that pole, you come out from behind that sign, you're not obvious that you're there. If you move the pole and the sign down about 10 feet, you'd be fine. But that's the real problem there.
Yeah. And the other side, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's any secret that I've posted, I've been there and just observed that situation, like I'm sure many of us have, for hours and hours at a time. And like Neil said, it just really is an accident waiting to happen. And I'm almost shocked, knock on wood, that there hasn't been a major accident there or loss of life. I think it's that bad.
Well, believe it or not, Ron, most people are looking for people at that intersection now. I watch them do it in my car and on my bike, and it's really good. They're aware of the signs. It's just, we don't want any surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've sat on either side waiting, letting people cross, and counted the number of cars that have gone through the crosswalk. So maybe that comes with education too. I don't see what what the mystery is of what you do when you get there. I just don't understand it. We also, you know, we have cyclists that come right out of the driveway too and cross. And I kind of get that, because if you're coming out of that driveway and taking a right onto 177 and then a left on the crosswalk, you can actually do that. But I see a lot of people taking more of an angle rather than following it like you would, you know, doing it the correct way, like I just mentioned. So again, I think we just need to educate more people. I don't know, something, I feel like a few tickets handed out around here. You know, I don't know how that
you're
helps
right.
or if it doesn't, but I almost feel like if people saw that and it held up traffic because, oh, wow, they're handing out a ticket. I don't know. I think on River Road, it helps when there's the presence of an officer there, because, you know, even with myself for the next, you know, 25 trips through there, you're crawling because, you know, you realize there's people watching.
Well, Doug Frink was on River
I
Road
saw that
last
up in
week.
Collinsville.
So would it make sense to get one of the big traffic signs there with, you know, with a sign saying, you know, $250 ticket for not yielding to pedestrians on crosswalk or something? I mean,
I don't-
cars
We
are in
had them
traffic.
there, yeah.
I don't think so, guys. The problem with that intersection is it's very busy. Even when I'm coming down the hill on my bike, there's lights, there's signs, there's businesses, there's a lot going on there. And I think that's why cars miss it, because they're looking up the road towards the intersection where the light is. I think that's part of the reason it doesn't get the attention it deserves. It's just the nature of that hill.
I think for people that travel it every day, I don't think there's any excuse. You know, I've often said to people, if you live in Farmington and you drive it every day, you really, as a good driver, you should have in the back of your mind where the crosswalks are. I mean, it's that important, especially the major crosswalks. I call them the major ones. You know which ones I'm talking about. Like, you just have to know that they're there, and you just have to be prepared as you come upon it. And I don't know how we stress that enough, how we get that point across.
I think that's a good spot to input our fifth top five of education.
Yeah, there's a little bit of passion going on with that one, huh?
Yeah. I think education, you know, can speak volumes when done in the correct way to the correct audience. So that kind of covers everything off of the list.
Hey, for my 2 cents from a police standpoint, for your crosswalk here. I mean, I have 3 kids up in Boston, and the things that Boston does for these kind of things is unbelievable, the amount of money that they spend, because the big push up in that area is to physically separate bike lanes on the road from vehicles, in terms of, you know, you get a wide road there, the cars don't park along the curb line, they park towards the center of the road, and the bike lane runs along the curb line, which kind of hit or miss on that. But there's a lot of things like this, and pretty much all of these kind of crossings in Boston in those areas are all raised. I'm not sure, you know, how this would affect that, but as I look at it with everything you guys are talking about, I think that would be a good start, would be seeing if they could do something that would physically slow down the cars, because it is a speed limit change from coming down the hill to going into Unionville, the speed limit drops. Maybe that's one way it gets approached.
Yeah.
I love that. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how feasible raising them would be, just from a standpoint of the town, but there are new studies coming out suggesting maybe fattening up the double yellow lines, and the white lines are starting to make drivers more claustrophobic and making them feel as if the lane is smaller than it is,
Yep.
which is showing to reduce some speeds.
And for this case too, I mean, they have the white stripes, I don't know what you call it, that are kind of in markings showing
front.
cars
Yeah.
where they're supposed to stop for that, which is also kind of brings your attention to it. Maybe
Yeah.
a little bit more, but
Yeah, so stuff like that is starting to become more apparent, as I think most towns want to get away from speed bumps as a traffic control method. I think going down into the future, I think where traffic control is going to come in to is going to be the paint and pavement markings on the road. We could do those small triangles that I'm sure you've seen in other towns, that kind of indicate where a stopping line would be, or a yield line.
Yeah, you've got those on
there's-
Farmington Avenue, just down from the high school.
Exactly, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that, or large lines that kind of stretch out from the crosswalk in the two directions that vehicles are coming from. Things like that.
What about rumble strips like they've got on Brickyard before the crosswalk there?
Oh, please, God, don't do that. That thing is the most,
Okay.
rumble strips are the most dangerous thing for cyclists I've ever seen. You
Yeah,
hit those things on a bike, you almost come off.
yeah.
I'm also not a big fan of the speed humps, because those are the same way. You hit that on
Yeah.
a bike coming the other way, they can really, really get you hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we're not particularly big fans of the rumble strips when they're in the center lane or center line under the double yellows. I know the DOT has tried to put them in elsewhere on Route 4. In the last couple of months, they've been talking to us about adding rumble strips to new sections of Route 4, and the state likes them a lot. I think it just kind of curves head-on collisions a little bit, which is one of their priorities that they want to curve.
I would like to see the statistics on that, because my guess is
Yeah.
it really doesn't make a difference. But
I
I got a big problem with the rumble strips on the side of the road. The middle of the road, if it's one and it's about as wide as a brick, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
But the sides of the road make it really dangerous for us.
I actually like the ones going down the middle of the road in other towns, because it really does wake you up. Not that you should be asleep, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, honestly, going perpendicular across the travel lane. So as the cars go down, they hear, "Murr, murr." Hey, I got to look up, got to pay attention to something, for the crosswalk, not down the middle, not down the fog line, but, across it, just to kind of wake people up that they're coming up to something different.
What you're going to find is those used to be that way on Brickyard Road on the bike path. And if you are riding a bike on Brickyard Road and you hit those things, I've blown out tires on them. So
Okay.
that's the issue I have anyway.
Okay.
But I understand where you're coming from. It would wake the drivers up, but it'll really wake the cyclists up.
I mean, the other way is just, a strip of those little reflective pyramids.
Yeah.
I think that's a good start.
Yeah.
Bond those down to the road, and, hopefully the plows don't rip them up, or, mill the road down, bond them in, and then, they're sort of kind of flush.
177 is a state road, so anything we do would have to be approved by the state, and either essentially a state project or something that.
Yeah, but this is pretty important. And I mean, knowing that it's a state project that it'll take forever, we need to get it on we need to figure out what we want done and then get it on their agenda.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and staring at this picture, if we could get those two telephone poles, and I know that's not an easy job, but if we could get those things moved someplace,
Yeah, I don't,
it
I
might
don't, I
help
don't
that
think,
intersection a lot. you know?
unless the utility companies are planning on already moving them, I don't think moving them would be feasible.
Yeah,
I really don't see
financially
what they're
feasible.
gonna
I don't
do.
think that would be. I
Yeah,
don't think that would be
how-
possible.
How much more beautiful would it look if everything was underground, you know?
Oh, immensely,
Oh,
but
yeah.
You know, and I don't know, you know, if the cost is like $1 million a mile or something like that. You know, honestly, in my mind, it might be worth the money, but you know, just to kind of clean up how busy it is there.
Yeah, you got all these nice black light poles and everything, and then you get the, the old fashioned wood. So,
Well, after a while, you tune it out. You don't even notice it until somebody brings it up.
yeah, I've been staring at this for 10 minutes, and so now I notice it.
yeah, it kind of
But
draws.
that one
me
on the
away.
left, that one on the left, if you put that on the grass, it changes the whole view.
Yeah.
Well, at the time when the road was skinnier, it was probably fine, but now that they widened the road,
Yeah, yeah. And they put the sidewalk around them instead of moving them.
Yep, I have a list with the state of 129 double poles around Farmington that have been double poles for years.
What's a double pole?
Double pole is when the utility companies go to replace a pole, but the remaining some utilities remain on the old pole and don't move over to the new pole. The way it works is you have your top tier utility, so that's usually Eversource with power, and if it's not Eversource, it's usually Frontier. So they basically work from the top down. So whoever is the highest on the old pole that's their turn to move to the new pole.
there's a couple of those on Meadow Road that
Yep.
that literally
Meadow
have
Road, yeah.
stuff sitting on the ground. It's been there so long.
Yeah. Yep. No, there.
Yeah.
I have a whole list with the state. I've been going back and forth with them for about a couple weeks now, trying to get it resolved, get some kind of action on it.
I kind of don't see, and I don't know if Neil agrees, how we make this safer with those two poles there. It sounds like they're not going to move, but wow, we need some type of study or something here. Because just looking at it, it's just, I feel like it's danger written right across it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This intersection needs some work, but I don't think the poles are going to be moving anytime soon. And I believe we moved the signs already. And the signs are in the locations that they are so that the poles aren't blocking the signs from oncoming traffic in either direction.
Right, and we turned the button on the east
Right.
side, I think.
Yeah.
But the button on the west side is still down the hill. So you can see nobody, I mean, the only person that's going to hit that is somebody coming up the hill before they get to the intersection. And the button's on the wrong side for them. That's the sign on the right there.
Yeah.
So to actually expect somebody to come off of that, it would be better if it was on the pole, right? On the utility pole.
Yep. Yeah.
But that might be better as a freestanding button right off that last fence post, someplace in there or on the other side of it. So that,
Yeah, kind of where my mouse is.
Yeah. I mean, how, comparing the cost of another pole and more clutter, I mean, how hard would it be to have a little infrared sensor when you come off the trail on either side? So what if you get a nuisance trip, but somebody comes by and they trip the light?
yeah,
Well,
that's
if
what
they
I'd
trip
be
the light
advocating
without
for.
crossing, if they trip the light and no one crosses, I think that's going to educate the people that drive there frequently to pay less attention to the lights when they're flashing.
Yeah.
No, I've got to disagree with that, because other towns are putting these in and they work, whether people cross it or not. Again, it's an education that, hey, there's a crosswalk here and somebody might be coming, right? So I slow down a little bit. And if nobody's coming, I move on. It doesn't mean I speed through it the next time. And they're all over the place. I ride the Cape Cod Railsy trails a lot, and I never have to stop. I almost get lazy on a bike. I hate it, right? Because I never have to stop, because as I'm approaching that intersection, the cars are stopped waiting for me. And a lot of them have Connecticut plates on them too. So it's not just the
Yeah, I
Massachusetts
find that,
drivers.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. Up in Canton, there's a couple of them, right? By the dog
going
park, I
through
think that
Canton.
one's automatic. Yeah, and it works for pedestrians too. And I've seen them up in Massachusetts, on the farming, the Heritage Trail that goes up there. It actually triggers a lit up stop sign on the trail, so that a pedestrian or a biker on the trail, actually, as they're approaching the intersection, they see a stop sign too.
Oh,
Not
the
only are
blinking
they-
stop signs. I love those.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's the state doing on wrong way drivers now, right? Motion sensitive red lights flashing at people to alert them.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So, and again, I know it's a cost, but in my mind, it's money well spent.
and any money that
And I'm
saves a
not
life.
saying we have to do that everywhere. I'm saying we have to do
Yeah.
that at this intersection. It's not, I don't see it any other place in town, but this is the intersection that I can lose sleep over.
Yep. All right. Ron, I think we can. You sent me a list this afternoon. I think maybe if we do that next month.
Yeah, sure. That was
Right.
just a question I threw out there on Bike Walk Farmington. And
Yeah.
Neil, I just read your comment. No, that wasn't you. That's someone who's no longer on the board. But there's some good information there. Looks like it was pretty well thought out.
Yeah, I think if everyone takes, did you send it to everyone? I thought
I did.
you did. Okay. Yeah, I think that's something we should definitely take a look at. And then we can talk about it at the next meeting and come in with fresh ideas and maybe go around town and look at some of these sites.
Right.
Maybe you don't know where the Route 4 and Knollwood, how it's unsafe. Maybe take a quick visit there, and just take a look for yourself. And maybe you agree, maybe you disagree.
Dylan, I've got one more question for you.
Yeah,
I
go
saw
ahead.
they redid the downhill from the bike path to the river behind Tungus Mead by the bridge.
Bike
they re-
path to the
So-
river.
Yep, so right just south of the bridge, there's the path that goes down to the river, and then it goes along the river to the boathouse, to Tungus Mead, etc.
Yeah.
That downhill part was really rutted out, and looks like the town regraded it and put some gravel down.
We possibly could have. I didn't know about it.
Somebody did.
Yep, someone did, so it was probably us.
But I'm wondering if we should put in either some water bars or something, because it's going to happen again. You know, the water's going to go down the fall line just because it's the easiest way to go down, and with it, it's going to erode the middle of the trail again.
Yeah.
You know, might as well prevent it before. I mean, ideally would have been to, you know, run the trail a different way, but that's a heck of a lot more work.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Why don't let me dig into that a little bit more. I'll figure it out what we did over there.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, you know, pop in, you know, a couple of water bars just so you don't get the full runoff
Yeah.
going there.
no, I understand. Yeah.
So awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thanks.
sorry for my naivete, but what are water bars?
So it's going to be kind of like a diagonal raised spot. So when the water running down the fall line hits that, it's going to divert it off to the side. And so just
Okay.
downhill of the water bar, you don't have all this running water anymore. And,
Okay.
you know, instead of getting, you know, 20,000 square feet of runoff going down there, you know, if you've got water bars every, you know, 40 feet, you get much less runoff, and then it's not going to erode the trail because the water's not moving as quickly.
Yeah, they use those a lot in the national parks on the hiking trails.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
You know, ideally I've got a sustainable trail building book if anyone's interested in borrowing it. I had Winding Trails buy it when we were doing some trail work there. But you know, the concept is before the downhills, you do a little uphill corner, and then that causes all the water to spill off before you get to the downhill section. And then,
that
you know,
makes
keep
sense.
putting those switchbacks in, and, you know, it just makes it so the water doesn't go down the trail and chew your hard work up. You know, otherwise you're going to be rebuilding it every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Can't fight nature.
Yeah, that seems like a logical
No, and
challenge, yeah.
yeah, and water follows gravity.
Dylan, has anyone mentioned anything about the name change that I had brought up to Farmington, Connecticut Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee?
CJ last meeting mentioned that our true name is actually the Bicycle and Trails Advisory Committee.
Bicycle and Trails.
Yep, advisory committee. That's what I guess we technically are. And then I believe he said that if we wanted to change it, that we would just have to come up with an idea, and he would have to find a meeting where he could use some time at a town council meeting to go through the motions and approve that.
I do remember that now. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
with him being gone this meeting, I think it's just on hold till next meeting.
Okay. I'll just show up at his office at Town Hall and have a talk.
No. Yeah. We need to, before we go in any other direction, we would have to approve the meeting minutes from last month's meeting. Does anyone want to, how does this work? Motion to approve and
No,
then,
motion to approve.
Second,
And then
Second,
second, all right. And then all in favor, say aye.
I,
aye.
Aye.
Nays? And anyone else? All right. Does anyone else have anything else to add?
this was a great meeting.
Great.
It was a good meeting, doing a good job.
Thank you,
Bill,
Dylan.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Bruce. Thanks, guys.
Good night, gentlemen.
Guys, you're
Okay.
welcome.
Good
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Have a good
all
night.
right, motion
See you
to
later.
adjourn?
Yep.
Second.
Second.
I oppose. All right, guys. Have a
All
good night.
right, 8:35.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.